Morning, everyone. This is your host, Timothy J. Bassett, owner and founder of Bassett Revisions and Bassett Images. And today's topic of conversation is going to be about fear. Now, when it comes down to having a conversation about fear, first we need to understand the basics of fear. And to understand the basics of fear, we need to understand its origin. So, fear has been around since the dawn of time. Fear has been around forever. Now, fear usually is tied in with a lot of emotion, as well as some type of negative action. Now, as a child, you experienced a fear of the dark, but you did not experience that fear of the dark until you experienced a negative impact related to seeing something in the dark or something that scared you. Usually when it comes down to then getting older, you start to experience more legitimate fears. But in some cases, many cases, as a matter of fact, those legitimate fears become less and less and less as you get older. So, when it all boils down to it, usually because of fear is tied in with a lot of emotion and a lot of a negative action that has taken place. In order for a person to no longer have that legitimate fear, what they have to do is they have to learn how to control the emotion behind the fear. Then they have to take the action and push through the fear and control the emotion behind that fear while they're doing it. You're still going to have the emotion. The emotion isn't going to go away completely. But as you start to take the action towards that fear more and more, that emotion is starting to subside more and more and more. Little by little, it'll get less and less of a big problem in your mind. So when you're taking that into consideration and you're thinking about your fears, you can apply that to basically any situation in your life, and then you'll be able to overcome and conquer that particular fear. If you have a fear of heights, it's because at one point in time, you stood over some type of high area, or maybe even as a child, you fell off the jungle gym, and then that felt to you like falling off of the Empire State Building. But with that type of fear, that prevents you from being able to experience the joy and the powerful and moving experience of skydiving, because you're so scared of heights. Or it prevents you from being able to see the world from a different view, from going up into the Freedom Tower, looking above New York City and just seeing everything move around beneath your feet. That prevents you from being able to have that type of sight. And when you start to experience those types of fears, and then when you start to limit your actions as a result of your fears, then that's when you have a very restricted lifestyle. I'm afraid to start a business. I'm sorry. It's just, I'm not meant for businesses. Like, no, you're afraid to start the business. That's the key concept behind it. You're afraid to start the business. You're afraid to talk to that person that you've been crushing on for God knows how long. You're afraid to get that promotion. You're afraid to really work hard because you are afraid of there being success at the end of that. Some cases, some people are very afraid of success. They know that they can achieve what it is that's in front of them. They're just afraid to have that many people dependent upon them, or to have that many people looking into their lifestyle or looking into what they do on a regular basis. So when it comes down to the fears are not meant to master the human. Humans are meant to master the fears. There will always be scared. There will always be those fears in the back of your mind. But the more and more that you keep on going and pushing through, and you take the action forward to push through the fear, as opposed to acknowledging the emotion and allowing the emotions to run its course and continuing to stay stuck in that emotional rut and not taking any action because you're so afraid, that's what's going to prevent you from getting anything done. If you keep on doing that, then that's going to prevent you from achieving anything that you are looking to achieve. If you have a big dream in your mind, you need to face that fear. If you have a fear of public speaking, you better start standing in front of some people and start making some statements, start quoting something. You better start getting into the habit, start checking to see if you can donate your time at community events, or maybe if you can quote some scripture at your church in front of the whole congregation. If you can sign up for singing in a choir, if you can sign up for doing some type of extracurricular activity where it involves getting you in front of people. Oh no, Tim, I'm an introvert. I like to stay to myself. I'm an introvert too. But did you know that statistically speaking, some of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time are introverts? Nobody will tell you that. But see, the main thing is that you have to develop that connection with people, that ability to be able to network. And the only way to be able to network is if you get out there and just try doing it. That's literally it. The only way to really conquer those fears is to take a hold of the emotional connection that you have behind it, and then to force yourself to take that action anyway. If you force yourself to take that action, then your limits are endless. When you force yourself to take that action in the face of fear, not only do you start to conquer that emotional response that you have to the fear that you are facing, but you also start to be given the ability to reduce how big that fear is in your mind. And then as time passes, it all of a sudden becomes a very minuscule fear. And then you start to wonder, why were you even afraid of that in the first place? For example, Chris Gardner, in his book, Pursuit of Happiness, he talks about how he was extremely afraid for his child, he was afraid for himself while they were living on the streets, and while he was still going through all of the different experiences of being an African American, just on the streets, having to deal with that nonsense, having to deal with the corporate America, having to deal with overachieving and exceeding himself above and beyond when it came down to his work, when he was working in the corporate environment, while he was still living on the streets. And in dealing with that, of course he was afraid. There's always those fears that you're going to face, but yet he still continued to achieve and continued to do what he had to do in order to make a life for himself and for his son. And then before you know it, he became a multi-millionaire. And then there's a movie made after him, and then he's made millions off of his book alone. So when it comes down to really over-exceeding and achieving what it is that you need to achieve and pushing past those fears and getting involved into your actions, first you have to get in check your emotions. Your emotions to it need to be in check. Past that point of getting your emotions in check, then what you need to do is you need to start pursuing the action behind it. As soon as you start feeling the emotion that's preventing you from taking the action, get up and take the action. You have to do that. If you don't do that, you will never master that fear. The more that you do that, the more and more that fear is going to seem less and less. As a child, we're afraid of the dark. But when you're looking at the dark, and as you get older, eventually it becomes an irrational fear. It becomes a fear that's just there. But then, of course, you experience something else. You fail in business. Somebody at your office is spreading rumors about you. You have a bad breakup. You experience something really negative in your home life. Somebody in your family member, one of your family members just passed away. Any one of those negative experiences, any one of those terrible experiences then creates a fear for you. I'm afraid of dying. I'm afraid of experiencing this. I'm afraid of experiencing that. What's after life? What happens to me next? What happens to these people next? What's going to happen to my other family members? I don't want to see anyone else pass away. I don't want to go to funerals because I don't want to see people that way. I don't want to do this because I don't want to see persons deal with these types of circumstances. I don't want to see a video like that because I'm afraid. You've got to keep your emotions in check. The moment that you feel the emotion, you immediately take the action, and that'll reduce the emotion as you already take the action towards what it is that you're afraid of. If you're afraid to start a business, and if you're scared, what if they don't like me? What if they don't do this? What if they don't do that? What if I succeed? What if I fail? What if I this? What if I that? Boom. In the middle of that, you have got to take the action to do it. Just do it. Just get started. Create a whole bunch of signs. Throw them up onto different telephone poles all around your neighborhood. Let everybody know that you're starting your business, and then stick with it. You've got to stick with it. You've got to be consistent with it. Don't allow the fears to overcome you. And then along that, in the mornings, anytime that you are starting your morning routine and you're continuing on to take care of your business throughout the day, what you can do as a way to just trick your mind into thinking the positive thoughts that it's supposed to be thinking, and to stop that negative voice that always creeps up. That negative voice that always creeps up and always ends up telling you, oh, you're not as good as this, oh, you're not as good as that. Maybe you should take it easy, Tim. Oh, you know what? Maybe mom and dad were right. Maybe your friends were right. Maybe you shouldn't be a workaholic. Maybe your ex-girlfriend was right. Maybe you shouldn't work this much. Maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you shouldn't do that. No. In the middle of that, that's when you have to start creating your affirmations. You have to start creating affirmations. Affirmations are essentially when you are speaking something into existence against a thought process in your mind. So, for example, in the morning, if you say something along the lines like, I will achieve and I will have a great day today, my mentality will always be a focus, or if you're going to school and you're trying to be as good of a student as possible, then of course you can start in the morning your affirmations of saying, I will get a 4.0 GPA, I will be an excellent student, I will achieve this, I will achieve that. Include your end game, include your end result, include your goal in your affirmations, include the things that you struggle with in your affirmations. You have to give yourself that positive pep talk, because eventually in the mornings, as you continue to say that over and over and over and repeat it to yourself in the mirror over and over and over again, eventually you're going to believe it. Muhammad Ali did the same thing. He said that one quote of his is that he said that he was the greatest until finally he believed it. Paraphrasing. But my recommendation is for you to get going, is to get started on conquering those fears by managing that emotion. In the middle of that emotion, take action towards the fear. If you take action towards the fear, that emotion's going to dwindle down. So get started on taking action. All right. Well, this has been another second episode of the series Commute. This has been your host, Timothy J. Bassett, owner and founder of Bassett Images and Bassett Revisions, reminding you all to conquer your fears. All right, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.